At the far end of the Western world, there is a people who have endured everything. War, famine, betrayal, dispossession, and yet they are still standing. A people who against all odds continue to raise families, build schools, farm the land and sing the hymns of their fathers. Those people are the Afrikaner, or Boer. And our story is not just about survival but resilience. Many have long said we are finished, and yet here we still stand. In fact, our story is one that has been marked by overcoming trial after trial, each one demanding faith and relentless perseverance. And it is precisely this resilience that makes the story of our people relevant far beyond South Africa. While liberals have long dismissed us as relics of our history, our lived experience on the dark continent speaks directly to the same struggles now facing all the nations of the West, including the United States and Europe. In a recent hit piece by Rebecca Davis from the Daily Maverick, a liberal newspaper in South Africa, she argues that the political views of Charlie Kirk are completely irrelevant to our South African context. She argues that religious and conservative foundations of Charlie Kirk's views on issues such as abortion, transgenderism and homosexual marriage has no bearing on a country where the main fight is against poor service delivery and political corruption. Of course, she is right to highlight these issues, and she's right that the vast majority of South Africa's citizens couldn't care less about Charlie Kirk's Christian socio-political engagement. But what she claims simply does not hold for one ethnic group here in this country, the Afrikaner. What she completely overlooks is that much of the ideological struggles faced by heritage Americans today are exactly the same struggles our people have been facing for decades. The liberal order is, after all, not just about abortion, homosexuals pretending to be different genders, and facilitating illegal immigration. It is about the battle for our civilization itself. And the same battle that we faced in South Africa is the one being faced in all Western countries today. And in today's video, I will be highlighting how the Afrikaner people have become one of the last bastions of Christian civilization, even here on the far end of the dark continent. I will show that while our contexts may differ, the plight of my people is essentially the plight of Western civilization as a whole today. And I will be asking a tough but highly relevant question. Will the men of the West, the men of America, the men of Europe stand with us at this outpost? Or will you allow not only our people, but your civilization to burn without a fight? As a Western nation born in Africa, the Afrikaner is unique. We are both European and African at the same time. Yet we are also not colonists in the traditional sense of the word. The Europeans who settled in Australasia and Canada considered themselves extensions of the British Empire, and the Portuguese and Spanish people who colonized South America maintained the same ethno-cultural identity they brought there from the Iberian Peninsula. However, the Afrikaner or Boer came here fleeing religious persecution in Europe, mostly. We did not colonize the southernmost tip of Africa in the name of a foreign power. We actually fled from European powers to, in God's providence, found a new people here, a white Christian people, but one also native to Africa. Since arriving here in southern Africa in the 17th century, our ancestors, by sheer resilience and the grace of God, carved farms out of arid soil, founded towns where there was only wilderness and no other humans survived before them, and, generation after generation, carried the Bible and rifle side by side. They endured the Great Trek, migrations into the unknown, wars against the might of the British Empire at its peak, and the indignities of concentration camps where their women and children perished by the tens of thousands, close to a third of the population being wiped out. By the 20th century, the Afrikaner had established universities, industries, literature, and a distinct national identity. But with 1994 came the Great Collapse. In the world's eyes, Afrikaners became a pariah, blamed for all the ills of colonialism and apartheid in South Africa. Political power was stripped away from them. Economic power has eroded since. Today, affirmative action policies openly exclude us from jobs, state tenders, and leadership. The media dismisses our protests as whining, and the violence against Afrikaner farmers, those who feed the nation all by themselves, has reached horrific proportions in the past 5 years. And yet, we carry the torch of Christendom here in dark Africa and in the most difficult of circumstances. Circumstances which the West is now only starting to see the tip of the iceberg and starting to experience by themselves. We even continue to survive and in some cases even thrive as a Christian people despite the persecution. Understanding the history and present struggles of the Afrikaner is to understand what the West is on the verge of going through themselves. Everything that we went through here in South Africa and started going through in South Africa decades earlier are the exact same things that the West are starting to go through right now. And when I say the West, I mean virtually every single Western country. Everywhere we see nations that once stood proud, now crumbling under demographic decline, cultural self-hatred and political betrayal. Birth rates all over Europe are collapsing. Churches in Germany stand empty. The American heartland, once confident in its future, now drowns in fentanyl, despair and constant political warfare. The Afrikaner is thus not unique in the plight. What makes us unique is that we have already walked a path that the rest of the West is only now beginning to tread. We have already been dispossessed by a political class that holds all absolute power and despises us. We have already endured the complete and utter collapse of institutions that once secured our wealth and prosperity. We have already faced the terrifying question: what happens when not only the state itself, but even millions of your own fellow citizens become your sworn enemy in your own country that absolutely hate your guts so much that they are willing to murder you because of the hatred? While the world has only been waking up to the plight of our people over the past few months, a handful of our kinsmen in the Dutch motherland have been aware of the crucial importance of taking note of the plight of the Afrikaner for more than a decade now. Exactly 10 years ago, the Dutch politician Martin Bosma went where almost no Dutch politician or any European politician for that matter dared to go before, by publishing a book on the challenges faced by the Afrikaner people here in our country at the southernmost tip of Africa. In his book entitled Minderheid in Eigen Land, or A Minority in Your Own Country, he outlines how liberals in the West, by supporting the ANC takeover of South Africa, really facilitated the genocide of the Afrikaner people. In this sense, the Afrikaner outpost at the edge of the world is both a warning and a laboratory. If the West will survive, it must learn not only from the stubborn resilience of this small nation at the bottom of Africa, but it also must learn to fundamentally reject the liberal ideology which led to this Marxist takeover of our country in the first place. Here lies the great irony. The very people the liberal West despises as racists are the very ones showing the West its future. We are showing what the fight for the heart of the West will look like once it intensifies in other Western countries like it had intensified in South Africa. The Afrikaner is not merely a pariah at the edge of Africa. It is a mirror of what happens when liberalism runs its full course in a Western democracy. For the Boer, liberalism ruined everything. It came clothed in the rainbow promises of equality and freedom, and it delivered dispossession and systematic discrimination. And I mean true systematic discrimination. Discrimination that is actually written into law. Not the fake systematic discrimination that we hear the exact same liberals complain about in the West. Real systematic discrimination that they themselves impose on a small group by law in that group's own country. It stripped away institutions, it destroyed industries, and armed mobs to loot and steal the country bankrupt. We have experienced firsthand how the slogans of diversity and non-racialism were in reality nothing more than tools in a Marxist power struggle to destroy our country. These exact same slogans echo in Europe and in America. There, too, the native peoples are told they must apologize forever for their ancestors. There, too, churches are emptied by the inroads of liberalism that had been made into the hearts and minds of people. There, too, families, the very fabric of your society, are dissolved by hedonism. In short, Western nations are being disarmed and dismantled by their own guilt. But the core inspiration of our story lies in the very fact that the Afrikaner has already endured and has not been destroyed by it. It only hardened us. In spite of everything, our people still educate our children in our language, still sing our hymns on a Sunday, still plow through the soil, still build schools, universities, and even towns, still maintain a living, thriving culture when everything around us screams that it should already be dead. The Afrikaner proves what the West has forgotten. Liberalism cannot save civilization, but the Christian faith, embodied in strong families, strong nuclear families, caring communities, high trust communities, and an unprecedented work ethic, and an outright rejection of liberalism, can. Like the Germans following the Second World War, the Afrikaner was completely vilified after apartheid. Every single individual, even individuals that had nothing to do with it, even individuals that were born after it had ended. Yet, as a people, we have managed to shake off the shackles of white guilt far quicker than the Germans did. Of course, this can be attributed to our circumstances, as we have had to endure third world challenges as a small minority in our own country, the way Germans never had to. But even this has providentially served to strengthen us in our Christian resistance to the destructive ideology of liberalism, which preaches peace and equality, but delivers only corruption, violence, and murder. Not only here, but increasingly all over the Western world, as we saw in America with Charlie Kirk.
Our priority will be Black, Latino, Asian, and Native American-owned small businesses, women-owned businesses.
What do you say to the people who dragged a poor white guy out of a car and beat him?
Oh my goodness, poor white people, please.
How we are going to exterminate white people.
This is the part where the white people start to applaud.
The National Park Service says the persistent whiteness of its 419 parks is an existential crisis.
We're witnessing the end of white America as we know it.
You know, whites will not be the majority. I mean, it's an exciting transformation of the country.
And white Americans will soon be a minority, and that's great. Our only spice is potato.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
By the way, if you find our content interesting, be sure to join our WhatsApp group to get free updates on the work that we are doing. Just follow the steps on the banner underneath me. Europe and America need to take a leaf from the playbook of the Afrikaner. Despite all the oppression and violence, our freedom fight is as alive as it had ever been. We have learned the hard way that governments will not save us, NGOs will not provide for us, and international institutions will not defend us. If the West is to survive, it will have to reclaim that which it has lost, that which the Afrikaner nationalist embodies, faith in the one true living God, the inspiration of the toil and sacrifices of faithful ancestors, and the drive to overcome our enemies, those who hate us, no matter what. The hard reality is that if the Western world continues to cling to the myths of liberal democracy, human rights, and the false gospel of equality or equity, it will inevitably go the way of South Africa, down the path of dispossession, lawlessness, and genocide. If you Africanize the West, you get Africa, and what happens in Africa will happen in the West. The collapse is already visible in mosques that are replacing the churches in Europe, in the American cities going up in flames, and in the disillusioned youth who no longer believe that their lives are worth more than the next dopamine hit. But if men of the West dares to learn from us, if it dares to reject liberal guilt, to reject the lies of liberalism and feminism and multiculturalism, if it dares to return to the foundations of its Christian civilization, then the Afrikaner survival will not be in vain. Then our story will not just be a warning, but indeed a prophecy of cultural renewal in the West. The plight of the Boer is the plight of the West. The question now is whether the West will learn from our example in time, or whether it will only awaken when its own nation lies in ruins, like ours did, and its own people are reduced to begging for scraps in the land of their ancestors, that was once built by their ancestors. As an example of how our people continue to fight and win, check out our video on how our people continue to thrive economically despite being systematically excluded from the job market. You can learn more and do so by clicking on the video appearing on your screen right here. And please consider becoming a paid member of the Willem Betzer Group. Your support is what helps this channel change the hearts and minds of people, not just in South Africa, but all over the world. Goodbye, and God bless.